Brought to you by Penguin.
The Undying by Anne Boyer. Read by Amy Finegan. Prologue. In 1972, Susan Sontag was planning a work to be called On Women Dying, or Deaths of Women, or How Women Die. In her journal under the heading Material, she wrote a list of 11 deaths, including the death of Virginia Woolf, the death of Marie Curie, the death of Jeanne d'Arc, the death of Rosa Luxemburg, and the death of Alice James. Alice James died of breast cancer in 1892 at the age of 42. In her own journal, James describes her breast tumor as this unholy granite substance in my breast. Sontag quotes this later in Illness as Metaphor, the book that she wrote after undergoing treatment for her own breast cancer, diagnosed in 1974 when she was 41. Illness as Metaphor is cancer as nothing personal. Sontag does not write I and cancer in the same sentence. Rachel Carson is diagnosed with breast cancer in 1960 at the age of 53, while in the process of writing Silent Spring, among the most important books in the cultural history of cancer. Carson does not speak publicly of the cancer from which she dies in 1964. Sontag's journal entries during cancer treatment stand out for how few there are and how little they say. The little they do say illustrates breast cancer's cost to thinking, mostly as a result of chemotherapy treatments that can have severe and long-lasting cognitive effects. In February 1976, while undergoing chemotherapy, Sontag writes, "I need a mental gym." The next entry is months later, in June 1976. "When I can write letters, then..." In Jacqueline Suzanne's 1966 novel Valley of the Dolls, a character named Jennifer, afraid of mastectomy, dies by intentional overdose after her breast cancer diagnosis. "All my life," Jennifer says, "the word cancer meant death, terror, something so horrible I'd cringe. And now I have it. And the funny part is, I'm not the least bit frightened of the cancer itself, even if it turns out to be a death sentence. It's just what it'll do to my life." The feminist writer Charlotte Perkins Gilman, diagnosed with breast cancer in 1932, kills herself too. "I have preferred chloroform to cancer." Jacqueline Suzanne, diagnosed at 44, dies of breast cancer in 1974, the year Sontag is diagnosed. In 1978, the poet Audre Lorde is also diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 44. Unlike Sontag, Lorde uses the words I and cancer together, and does this famously in the Cancer Journals, which includes an account of her diagnosis and treatment and a call to arms. "I don't want this to be a record of grieving only. I don't want this to be a record only of tears." For Lorde, the crisis of breast cancer meant the warrior's painstaking examination of yet another weapon. Lorde dies of breast cancer in 1992. Like Lorde, the British novelist Fanny Burney, who discovers her breast cancer in 1810, writes a first-person account of her mastectomy. Her breast is removed without anesthetic. She is conscious for the mastectomy's duration. "Not for days, not for weeks, but for months I could not speak of this terrible business without nearly again going through it. I could not think of it with impunity. I was sick. I was disordered by a single question, even now, 9 months after it is over. I have a headache from going on with the account. And this miserable account." Write aphoristically, Sontag notes in her journal when contemplating how to write about cancer in Illness as Metaphor. Breast cancer exists uneasily with the I that might speak of this terrible business.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?